Jewelry is probably one of the oldest forms of self-expression and creativity. But why did a woman whose education, training, and career consisting of science, mathematics, and business turn to jewelry making? When did talk about equations, computer science, and business plans turn into pearls, gemstones, and wire wrapping? I'm Grace Trafton of The Better Part, and it's my good fortune to have the opportunity to introduce to you the woman who now proclaims, "Jewelry making is my passion." Our guest, Susan Mann, is certainly no stranger to The Better Part. In fact, she is our president, and she is also the producer of many interesting shows for The Better Part. Today, the tables are turned, and I'm very pleased to welcome you here, Susan, as our guest.
Oh, thank you, Grace. This is the first time I've been guest on The Better Part.
And how do you feel about being a guest?
Oh, somewhat nervous. I think it's harder than being the host.
Well, tell me, did you always have an interest in jewelry making?
Oh, definitely not. I grew up after the Sputnik era, and the Western world was racing to catch up to Russia in mathematics, science, and engineering. Now, these were hot areas to study, and they became the foundations of my career at Bell Labs. Growing up, however, I was sadly a bookworm and a nerd, and I had very little interest in fashion, the latest style, or in jewelry.
So it sounds like you were a pioneer in this area of science and computer science.
Yes, it was my passion during my career, and I loved it. However, things changed.
So what happened to get you interested in jewelry making?
Well, in 2010, when my husband and I were retired, we moved to Cupertino, California, where my daughter lived with her young family. Soon after we moved, however, my husband started to get some very strange symptoms of some unknown disease. The disease grew quickly and aggressively. It took a long time to find a diagnosis, but they found that he had Cezary Syndrome, which was a type of lymphoma, a cancer of the immune system. In a stroke of immense luck, however, there was a world-class institute that treats this disease at Stanford Hospital, which was a mere 35 minutes away.
Good fortune.
I know. When he was diagnosed, my husband was already at stage 4, and he quickly went through all the traditional forms of treatment: chemotherapy, radiation, photophoresis, none of which brought about any lasting cure. Our doctors started to prepare us for the only option that was left, a stem cell transplant. In a stem cell transplant, the diseased parts of the patient's blood cells are replaced by a donor's stem cells. And these donated blood cells will take over the patient's immune system. During the whole transplant process, however, my husband's immune system was almost completely destroyed, and he was very susceptible to infections. He had to be kept totally isolated from everyone except me, the caregiver, even from our family. We were not able to eat out at restaurants, and not even at the Stanford Hospital cafeteria.
Oh my goodness, how long did that last?
Oh, that lasted for, the acute part of it lasted for about a year.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, but he had lingering graft versus host disease for over 2 or 3 years. To make matters worse, we had just moved to California, so we didn't have any close friends nearby. So, as the sole caregiver for my husband, I was left alone and bored and looking for something I could do at home.
So, how did you get started learning how to make jewelry?
Well, a new friend, you. You came to see me at our home, and you taught me how to make an earring in about half an hour, and I was immediately hooked. And I'm so grateful even today for that lesson.
So it wasn't hard to learn how to make an earring, was it?
Well, it was not hard to learn, but it was hard to perfect. There was one major trick that you taught me that was the key to the jewelry making, which was to make a perfect loop in a wire that sits on the center of the top of the wire. Now, the trick in doing this, which I thought was very ingenious, is that you don't twist the wire, but you first of all, you twist your hand. And then by unwinding your hand, you twist the wire, giving you a beautiful, perfectly positioned round loop. And this is one of the key moves in jewelry making, a foundational move.
That's right. So can you give us a demonstration how this is all done?
Yes, I'll be very glad to. One of my favorite earrings, which I'll demonstrate how to make today, is a very simple striped earring. It consisted of a striped acrylic bead with 2 white jade beads. Here is a navy striped earring, classic, and it goes well with so many outfits. This is probably my most frequently worn earring. It's great for running around to meetings and shopping and going to Tai Chi class. To make a pair of earrings, we start with 2 head pins, which are wires with a round or a flat head at the end to stop the beads from falling out, and also 2 earring hooks. To make a more elegant earring, one that's suitable for a more formal look or for a party, we will make one from these 3 round beads. We first have a pearl, and this one is quite a large, lustrous pearl. And then we'll use another pearl, a medium-sized pearl, that is dyed a beautiful gold color. And our last bead is a gold sparkle bead. Notice the beads are graded in size, much like in a Fibonacci series, and this gives it a very pleasing proportions. So I have here my tools. Here's a flat nose plier, a round nose plier, and a wire cutter. I'm going to make a very simple earring. So I have here a head pin, and the head pin has a little flat knob at the end so your beads won't fall out. So what I'm doing is I'm threading. This is a jade, beautiful jade earring, and these are spacer beads. So I have a spacer bead here, and also my bigger bead, and another spacer bead, and another jade bead. Now, using my flat nose plier, I'm going to make a big bend, a 90-degree bend in my wire. And now I'm cutting off, trimming the wire to about 1/2 inch. Now, using the trick that Grace taught me, I'm holding my round nose plier, and I'm twisting my hand like this, gripping the end of the wire. I give it a big turn like this to make a loop at the end. And here's my loop. And then I'm going to attach the ear hook. Like this. And then I want to make sure I close off my earring. And voila, we have an earring. And couple with the one I had done earlier, I have a nice pair of earrings that are wonderful to wear for informal occasions. In a similar manner, I could be making another earring like this. And you can see that this one is a little bit more formal. We have the large pearl at the end, and then the medium gold pearl, and then the gold sparkle bead at the top. And that's the end. Thank you.
So what fascinated you about making jewelry?
Well, I must admit, I was first fascinated by all the beautiful beads that were available. I never knew there were so many beautiful beads out there. There were the lustrous pearl beads and beautiful gemstones like jades and baby smooth opals. And later I discovered there were cheaper, less well-known beads that had wonderful qualities of their own. For example, there are many beautiful glass beads. There are plain glass beads, frosted glass beads, crackle glass beads, and of course, faceted glass beads. And these are sometimes called suncatcher beads, and they look almost like diamonds. And the glass beads are inexpensive, but they have the weight and the feel of real gems.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely true.
And beautiful, aren't they?
They are, and I think that's why I fell in love with making earrings too, for the same reason.
There are other beads like acrylic beads or clay beads that are lighter. And you can wear them, because they're lighter, you can wear them for longer periods of time. Mm-hmm. And they're available in much more colors than the usual gemstones. And they have designs on them that are not available in natural gemstones. Also, these beads are less formal, and they're appropriate for picking up the kids, wearing to a yoga class, or doing grocery shopping. And these are activities that allow you to wear them during the day in the lives that you lead. And I'm also fascinated by pendants. They're small pendants or charms that's suitable for making earrings, or bracelets, or large pendants that are suitable for making necklaces. There are beautiful, elegant pendants. There are funny pendants. There's pendants that declare your love for music, dogs, cats, sea creatures, gymnastics, a whole host of things. There are pendants that celebrate holidays, religion, friendship, karma, and there are many pendants that proclaim love. I recently used this lovely soccer pendant to make necklaces for my granddaughter's soccer team, the Purple Pandas.
Wonderful.
I have a lot of Chinese beads and pendants too, and some of these are made of porcelain or cloisonne or jade, and they celebrate love, friends, long life. And here's a pendant that contains a pair of Chinese blessings. One side says peace, going in and coming out, and the other side means long life without end.
Beautiful.
Longevity, yes.
Beautiful. So, how did you learn how to make pendants and necklaces and bracelets? Because I only taught you how to make earrings.
Well, you gave me the start, and I started just being fascinated. I would look at what was available in places like Michael's, the stores like Michael's and Joann's. I looked on Amazon, but then I discovered that there were online jewelry outfits that had a host of material that I never dreamed about.
So you took classes online on how to make necklaces?
I did, also on YouTube.
Wonderful.
You could learn almost anything from YouTube.
Absolutely. And I understand that you started teaching jewelry making. How did that happen, and where do you teach?
Well, I had done a show on The Better Part about a very fascinating couple, Allan and Mary Seed, who were Asian American activists who fought discrimination, racial prejudice, and stereotyping. This is way back in the 1970s. Now, in particular, since Allan was a psychiatrist, they fought for mental health services for Asian Americans that were language and culturally appropriate. And they had formed an organization known as Asian Americans for Community Involvement, or ACI for short. I was so impressed with the seeds, I went to volunteer at the ACI Senior Wellness Program.
Good for you.
And I found the people there so fascinating. There were many new immigrants from Asia, and I offered to teach a jewelry class, which really opened new doors for them and for me.
So, what do you like about teaching?
Well, teaching actually was very difficult at first, and I had to do a lot of research. Things that I taught, things that I know how to do, I realized I don't really explain it well, and I had to analyze what it was that I was doing so I could teach it to other people. So they always say a teacher learns a lot more than the students.
That's true.
Right, and that was certainly the case for me.
Are there unexpected things that you learned from your students?
I love teaching the women at ACI, mainly because they had a different outlook on jewelry than I did, and I was interested in exploring what they thought. And I love teaching women to care about how they look, and to tell them that it's okay sometimes to think about themselves first before thinking about their children and their husband. And it was good for the children to have a role model who was attractive and confident. So I would tell them, buy some new clothes for yourself and make several pieces of jewelry to go with each one. I hope their husbands agreed with me.
I've also done the opposite. I've made a piece of jewelry and then found clothes to match.
Oh, that's interesting, right.
So what would you like to tell our viewers about the benefits of making your own jewelry?
From my newly immigrant students, I learned that they often think it's appropriate to wear only real jewelry.
Oh, is that right?
Right, like real gold or real silver or pearls.
Is this mostly Asian, Chinese students?
Asian Chinese. And I guess that was part of their culture that they grew up with. And that the jewelry they often wear to denote, the status of their wealth.
Ah.
Right. I love introducing them to the world of costume jewelry. And these are frivolous, silly, inexpensive jewelry that accents their clothes and whose purpose was really just to make them feel pretty and feel good.
Good. And so how many students do you have at a time?
Well, it varies. Our classes usually I limit to about 10 because that's about all you can handle when you have to teach them how to use the tools and everything. But we once had a really fun session making jewelry. And this was for a holiday party that we were having. And we usually have a holiday party with bingo, and we were making like 70 sets of earrings and, and necklaces.
Goodness. Yeah, 70 sets.
Yes, and this was so much fun.
That's very ambitious.
Yes, and the men got a little jealous because they wanted to get in on it, So they offered to help. Which was great.
Wonderful.
Because we started making keychains, and they were very helpful in prying open some of these very tight links that were hard to get open. But I also was teaching a class at Avenidas in Palo Alto. And I had a couple of students who were so excited to have some new time to do things. One was a school teacher who just retired. And after teaching for over 30 years, she had time to herself and was dying to learn a new hobby. And another just had her youngest graduate from high school and also had time on their hands. So it's very interesting that these ladies, for the first time in a long time, had time to do something for themselves.
Yes.
And they love making beautiful things for themselves and for their families.
Wonderful. Yeah. You're doing a really great service to them.
I think they made me feel so happy. They're doing a service for me.
Now, are there any benefits that you'd like to tell our viewers about making jewelry?
Oh, I think there are many benefits. One of the best benefits, I think, is having exactly what you want. For example, I have a turquoise blue and navy dress, which I show you here. And if you were to go out and try and find jewelry that would accent that, they're two very unusual colors together. It would be very difficult to do that. Mm-hmm. But as you can see, I make, a necklace and earrings that went very well with that dress. I also have a cousin who asked me, "Oh, Susan, can you help me make an earring for this dress that she was going to wear to a wedding?" And I looked at it, and was able to come up with about 8 different earrings for her.
Oh,
that would go nicely with that dress.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Some for more formal occasions, and other for dressing it down and wearing it to not so formal an event. Another thing, of course, is especially with the use of pendants. You make earrings and you make necklaces that express your personality. You could tell at a glance if you're happy today or sad, or if you're a person who loves cats or dogs or all sorts of things. So it's a fun thing to do. I very often would wear an earring with a smiley face, and just to let people know how I'm feeling that day.
Wonderful.
And one last reason to make earrings and jewelry is to save money.
That's right.
Right. I find very often that I would buy some pendants to make a necklace that I wanted to wear, and find that I actually have enough pendants for 200. And I end up, making earrings and sharing them with other friends. I also like to donate, especially to the American Cancer Society.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really good to hear. Now, do you have any future plans regarding your passionate hobby?
Well, I think my problem is I'm passionate about many hobbies.
What are some of your other hobbies?
Oh, I love photography.
Ah.
I love filmmaking. Would love to make a documentary. I'm writing a book.
Oh, you are?
Yes. So these are sort of like other hobbies that I'm trying to juggle.
What's the subject of your book?
And the subject is actually about my husband's illness and what we went through. It's called a rare and devastating disease. So I'm almost finished. So,
are you?
Yes. But another thing I like to do is I love reading, especially subjects that I never studied in school. So I love history and economics and politics, psychology, and of course technology. I'm an avid reader of murder mysteries also.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
So it sounds like you have many passionate hobbies.
Yes, I do.
Now, do you plan to continue with the jewelry making?
Well, Regarding the jewelry making, I don't really have plans now to make it a business. I just love it because it reminds me of how fortunate my family and I are to be alive. And I love being able to share this new happiness with others by sharing the things that I know how to make and do.
Well, it sounds like you're a very generous person. What an interesting journey into jewelry making. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about Susan's passion as much as I have. Thank you for being with us today, and be sure to also watch us on YouTube and Roku. See you next time on The Better Part. Bye-bye.